Now I get to do the reason I became a journalist. The best bit of my job is talking to people. I'm absolutely delighted to moderate this question and answer session, or fireside chat, as we call it in the industry, and to be joined by Fawad Qureshi, who's the Global Field CTO for Snowflake. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. So, got quite a few questions to go through. Some of the subjects will not surprise you based on the session and what we've talked about so far. So, I'll get going. If we could start, Fawad, if you could give us a bit of an insight into Snowflake as a company, and also more specifically your role and responsibilities.
All right. I'll start with Snowflake. So, Snowflake started 12 years ago as a cloud data warehouse platform, and our mission was to eliminate the various type of data silos in different organizations, bring all of the data into a single platform, which will then allow the customers to run all types of workloads on it, analytics, AI, and all. And now, with all the advent of AI, everyone is talking about you cannot have AI without consolidating all of the data. So what we started a decade or so ago is now everyone is coming to an agreement that this is required, and that's why we are at the forefront of delivering powerful AI solutions to all of our customers. On a personal level, my role is as the field CTO. I've become the bridge between technology and business for our customers, helping them build solutions that are going to serve their needs and covering from regulations, policy, governance, all of those best practices, and helping them succeed in this digital age.
So not busy at all.
Yeah.
Lots to keep you interested, certainly at the current time, I'd imagine. So perhaps no real surprise, and it's been mentioned in the panel discussion, that AI features heavily in our Future Focus report and the conversations that we're having all day, every day, and obviously a recent government announcement a few weeks ago as well. 78% of respondents cited it as one of their top 3 priorities, and we asked them to rate it for 2025. We also asked them, the same respondents this year, to talk about how that looked in context to last year, and it was 41%. That's a big, quite dramatic shift upwards. So what do you think has led? Has it been one particular thing or lots of different things driving that?
Right. I have been in the industry just over 25 years. And what I've seen is 25 years ago, what is now called AI, it was a geek's world. So there was only a bunch of mathematicians, scientists working on this. So this AI was a curiosity. It has become a necessity now. It used to be used in the dark rooms, in the back corners. Now it is a boardroom topic. And the reason why it has happened is it has become consumerized. Just like back in the 60s and 70s, there were computers, but those truck-sized computers, right? So those computers that will fill this entire room, they were still being used, but it wasn't until the PC revolution took place when computing became an everyday thing. I think the advent of ChatGPT and Gen AI became that iPhone moment or the PC moment for this thing. And what we see now is almost everyone is using AI in their day-to-day life, from consumers and all, and then now businesses are talking about how they can make use of this technology to find different kind of optimizations and process improvement inside their businesses today. So that's overall the shift, right? Going from the backstage to the front of the room, and in everyday conversation now people are using it for, okay, what should I cook for this week, right? So asking ChatGPT for different kind of recipes and all the kind of things, right? So planning and all. So it is becoming an everyday topic, and that is really why it has become such top of the mind agenda for everyone, be it the consumer or be it the business executive.
Absolutely. I mean, it's everywhere, and I don't. You can have a conversation today, whether it's with your friends, down the pub, or colleagues in the office, without AI coming up. It's everywhere. We can't escape that, which is timely, given that we've launched a report today that's largely about AI. AI readiness, and it's almost like we've chatted, Rory, because you queued this up really, really well during the panel session. But AI readiness was also cited as being more important this year for respondents than last. Like, what does that look like in reality? AI readiness from your perspective?
Like I mentioned in the first response, it's all about data, right? So without good data, there is no AI. In fact, with bad data, you'll get bad AI, garbage in, garbage out thing. And what you want to build systems, those autonomous systems that want to make decisions, they want to run processes, and you don't have the full picture or you have incomplete data, they are going to be very challenging for businesses to approve. So it is really important for businesses to think about how do they get a complete 360-degree view of the business, end to end. So what, again, going back here, data has always been generated in businesses processes, right? So we talk about industrialization from industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and now we are talking about 4.0. Really, the difference between Industry 3.0 and 4.0, 3.0 was somewhere between 1960 and 1970. Data was generated, but data was a byproduct of doing business. It was the digital exhaust. And now it is a time of converting that digital exhaust into a digital fuel. And that's the closed loop operation that you need to build. Every time you make a decision, I'll collect data, I'll bring that data back into my processes, and then I'll correct and course correct, and that's how you keep on building those systems. And that self-fulfilling loop is absolutely required in building that AI efficiency.
I'm going to shift gears slightly. So this isn't in order of the questions to discuss. So, but it segues nicely from what you've just talked about there of data. And data was definitely, Jane, you mentioned it as well. Data being a common theme that unites all of the areas, all of the topics that came in our top 10 and just were talked about by respondents. So, what are your thoughts and feelings on this? You've kind of given us a little bit of a taster there, but maybe you could expand on that. In terms of data being the connecting theme between all of the technologies that are really important.
Yeah, I think data is going to become the differentiating aspect, and what level of the data is being captured and how it is being distributed across the ecosystem and shared. And then importantly, in Europe particularly, we're going to talk about privacy, right? So privacy and handling the different kind of governance models and all. And in fact, something that I've used personally many times when I get those really interesting cold calls when people are trying to sell me some stuff. So my first question to them is, how did you get access to my data? Because I never gave you my phone number. And then they tell me, oh, I got this interesting company. And I said, what is that interesting company? So I give them a few GDPR regulation clauses. And they are really, really pleased. So that poor sales development representative on their first day of job are not going to remember that call very fondly. Because under GDPR, there is a very clear clause called right to explanation. Okay, so first you need to explain to me how did you get access to the data. Second, if you are making me an offer, you are building an AI model and giving me an explanation. I am entitled to an explanation. How did you secure the data? What practices you applied? What models you applied? And how did you find that I was a good fit for this model? And this cannot be done unless you have the complete lineage, traceability, and audit of your entire processes. Ignorance is no longer going to be an excuse in the AI age. And that will have a lot of repercussions for businesses who do not follow those correct practices from a data perspective.
Absolutely. Serious stuff, guys. Cybersecurity and automation also feature really, really highly on the list and have definitely grown in importance year on year. Do you think this is always a given, that they come hand in hand with the data point and AI, or have certain changes or trends more recently been driving?
Again, when more and more systems connecting to systems, right? So machines talking to machines. So that means there's a lot more data being collected, generated, and stored. And there are a lot of practices that you need to bring into play. So on a need-to-know basis becomes very important, right? So why is somebody getting access to certain systems? And then more importantly, right? So AI is going to become the next race to the moon. Countries are going to aim for AI supremacy. There are going to be national level government-backed attacks as well. And that is going to happen. And so in order to do that, you need to make sure that your systems are in the most secure and top governed form. And this is going to be of paramount importance all across the industry. So all type of data is susceptible to be attacked. There are going to be various type of threat actors, local, national, international, and that is where a lot of focus is going to come up. So that's why if you look at the number of cybersecurity jobs that have come up in the last few years, that is going to be even more in the next 5 years, because the more data we come in, the more it will make it an attractive target to attack. And something that we always, it always fascinates me. All the data that is going to be generated in the next year is going to be more than the data that was ever generated since the advent of humanity till now. So it's an exponential rise. It's the second half of the chessboard, as various people talk about, right? So going that exponential rise in technology and data generation.
Analytics, business apps, cloud, collaboration, machine learning, and also software as an umbrella category also feature in our list of the sort of top 10 priorities, areas of focus for the IT audience in 2025. Do any of these surprise you, or is it as expected?
It is pretty much expected, because there's a lot of, if you notice, all of those themes are a little bit what I would call at the application side of the things, right? So getting value out of the data, right? So analytics, cloud, sharing, and all of that. So I want to get more data, right? So I want to understand, what does my supply chain look like? I want to capture the data. So that's where it's becoming more important, especially in Europe, with all the regulations around sustainability with CSRD, right? So I want to understand what is happening in my supply chain. So I was talking to a major retailer here in Europe, and their head of compliance said, Fawad, what if the supplier of my 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 supplier, 7 chains down the link in Thailand, is using child labor in their practices? I'm responsible for that, because I'm benefiting from it. And just because I don't have the data for it, because my ERP system only has information about my tier 0 supplier, is not enough. So those the kind of things. So there are regulations, there are business practices that are demanding that you get full awareness, full chain visibility, as it is called, not just for sustainability reasons, but for understanding what happens if there's a supply chain disruption. So those kind of use cases are becoming so critical across all of the industries that, I mean, everything that you said, analytics, sharing, collaboration, cloud, and all, this is becoming need of the hour.
Absolutely. And you mentioned sustainability there, and that was something that also featured in our research findings, which was a little bit surprising for me, and it definitely feels like it's much more, or not at all even, a tick box exercise, like now more than ever. Would you be able to just expand on why that's so important?
So in the panel, we discussed briefly about DeepSeek. One of the main reasons why DeepSeek created so much ripple in the industry. So I created some content on LinkedIn Learning on a course on how do you measure the carbon footprint of AI models. The GPT 3.5 model, when it was trained, it consumed 700,000 liters of water to cool down the servers. One human being in Europe consumes 50,000 liters of water a year. So that single model training consumed 14 human beings' annual water consumption in one go. So what DeepSeek was able to do was, I can do it cheaper. And oftentimes, when you talk about I can do it cheaper, it results in carbon efficiencies as well. When everything becomes AI automated, everything gets connected, what would happen? There is going to be more and more focus on, okay, how can I make it sustainable? Sustainable is, what I always say, it is always a good business to be a good business. I want to go into that long-term mindset. Do you know that as per a World Economic Forum report, every 100 days, the carbon emission from AI is doubling? every 100 days across the world. While we are starting off a tiny base, there are still bigger carbon emitters, so energy and transportation and all. But at this rate, every 100 days, we are getting into that chessboard situation. That's why sustainability is no longer just a tick box exercise. It is absolutely imperative for us to understand how do we build and grow our businesses sustainably in the long term.
Absolutely, and I think it's the responsibility of all of us as individuals within our businesses and as an industry to make sure we're harnessing technologies like AI for good, but also be mindful of the wider impact. Absolutely. Now, if you forgive me, I'm going to read off my card, and I promise on the sustainability theme, I don't print things very often, so I am a good citizen in that respect. But I just want to make sure I'm not misquoting the excerpt from your LinkedIn profile that I'm going to read out. So you've been in the industry for 20 plus years, Fawad. You've worked in more than 50 countries during that time. And on LinkedIn, I think you list one of your key strengths as acting as a technology interpreter, bridging the gap between complex technologies and individuals who struggle to grasp them. Now, I love this. So powerful as a statement. Are you able to share some real-world examples of this in action, and also maybe talk about, given you've worked in so many different geographies, any common trends or even differences that you've seen over that time?
What I always say in general in this industry events, that B2B marketing has led us down very much. If you go to the website of many of these tech companies, they'll say, an AI-powered synergistic platform to deliver superior elevated customer experience to take you through digital transformation. And you're like, what do you actually do? Right? It is a buzzword bingo. And every day I get emails and LinkedIn messages. Dude, this is this website. Can you tell me what is this company? Oh, this is a bloody database. That's what it, and what they do is they pepper it with all the things that is coming up along, and everything has to be sprinkled with the AI magic dust. That is what is happening. In fact, so it is happening so much that Security Exchange Commission in the US last year came up with a regulation called AI washing. Just like greenwashing, there is a concept of AI washing. You cannot claim to be powered by AI or delivering AI-powered experience if you just use ChatGPT in the background to create a recipe for your next lunch. And that's unfortunately what is happening. And to give you the example, right? So one of the this becomes so critical for us, right? So when I started my career, I started in data back then, and I had the CTO came in and he asked us questions. So why do companies make data warehouses? So we were all young techies, just went through a factory boot camp course, and we said, okay, 360-degree view of the business, single view of this and the blah, 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 and all that jargon that we had done. He said, you guys are all wrong. Companies make data warehouses to make money. Then he asked a follow-up question. Why do data warehouses project fail? Again, techies, lack of data quality, agile versus waterfall, and this and that, blah, blah, blah. He said, you guys don't learn. Companies make data warehouses to make money. And those projects fail because they fail to make money. And that's the point that we need to elevate on how are you delivering those things. And just to think about this, right? So compare B2C versus B2B. And I'll talk about an example. Let's talk about toilet paper. You go to Tesco, you pick up the toilet paper. What will it say? Soft, 3-ply, easily dissolvable and all. What will a B2B marketer say? An efficient, fiber-optimized, highly hygienic toilet optimizing device to take customer experiences to the next level. This is what they will do. So that is why, unfortunately, people like me are required to translate whatever that was listed in different languages. It seems like English, but it is far from English. So to translate into what is required. So that's, unfortunately, this is the theme, like you said, across industry and across region. This is everywhere. So creating that noise, and unfortunately, coming back to bit of jest, but really making it a bit serious. A confused mind never buys. If there are like 20 products claiming to do the same thing with similar kind of jargons, you're creating confusion for the buyer. You're not coming to the point of what you're delivering, and that's what I try to do, working with the customers. Okay, what is it? What is the bottom line, and how can it help you in your business journey?
Absolutely. It'd be remiss of me not to say, given the audience, that if you're struggling with your buzzword bingo, then Future B2B, we can absolutely help you out there. So segueing on to, we've got a couple more questions left. We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left of this session. So can I ask, what was your highlights of 2024, both from an industry and a Snowflake perspective? And then what are you most excited about in 2025?
In 2024, from a Snowflake perspective, what we delivered a number of new experiences around AI. We released our Cortex suite of products, which really makes it simpler and easier to consume. And again, the key thing that I always talk to my clients about technology is a good technology should be invisible. A good technology should be running in the background without you focusing on the technology. A good technology should be like the geyser boiler at home. If every day you're talking to your partner about the geyser, it is broken. You should never talk about the geyser. You should never talk about the boiler. You should never talk about Snowflake. And that's what we have delivered last year from an AI perspective. Really, whatever is required at the back end, we'll handle it for you, and you connect on your AI application. You build your AI solution, and that's what we have delivered in there.
First rule of Snowflake is we don't talk about Snowflake, apart from in this select group, obviously. So what one piece of advice would you give to IT decision makers right now, Fawad, and why?
Again, and the same thing will sound like a broken record, but collect the data and consolidate it, because that consolidation will not just help you in improving delivering on your business goals and all. It will also help you in your sustainability goals as well. Because what happens is you start having those data copied over multiple systems, and that creates another challenge. And just to give you an example, I was working with a major public agency here in the UK. They have 2.5 exabytes of data. That is 2,500 petabytes. The unique data is only about 250 petabytes, which is still a lot, but it is copied 10 times over into 8 different systems, because each system requires its own little format and structure. And think it from a sustainability point of view, when you start getting into those petabytes and exabytes, you are talking about a lot of carbon emission being consumed by those. And then lack of efficiencies and all. So this is what we need to think about. How do I bring the data into a singular solution so I can build a proper data governance model and build effective transformation programs without using any of the buzzwords.
Great stuff. And final question then, and this is one I always love asking, because it's a bit future gazy, and you don't necessarily have to be right when we're talking about the future, but it pays sometimes to be so. So if we were to meet again a year from now, hopefully we'll talk lots in between now and then, what sort of things would you like to be talking about, Fawad? And conversely, what would you not want to be talking about?
I think, again, what happened with DeepSeek and all, we can think of this AI as multiple layers. DeepSeek is operating as what we would call it as a foundation model. I think those foundation models, those fights will still happen at the big tech level. But what I will see is there will be more agentic applications, AI solutions that are being built, and that is where a lot of value would be created. Imagine that somebody builds a very comprehensive AI agent that will solve all of your holiday booking tensions. Do you care whether it runs on DeepSeek or OpenAI or whatever? If it is able to deliver that. So these are where people are trying to build those experiences. And also what we'll see in the next 12 to 24 months, there are going to be more and more startups who are delivering these kind of agentic experiences. And in order to do that, they will be flexible and pluggable, so they can port, right? So if they are working on OpenAI or one model or the other, they will be able to port their experiences and all. And that's what we'll see in the next 2 years or so.
Definitely exciting times ahead. A lot more to keep you and others very busy during that time. So it's been fun. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Fawad, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.